So the lighting's here in here is really bad, but I kind of just wanted to talk about how I stopped breastfeeding Dexter at the age of 3. And I had already uploaded a video about how I did it and stuff like that, but for some reason I just took it down. And I did get a lot of views, so I'm assuming that, you know, you don't find a lot of videos. Because when I wanted to like officially stop, I had to kind of just figure it out on my own. And I did try a lot of the suggestions I got from like other videos, and I got some from like the WIC office and stuff like that, but none of them seemed to work the first time. So when Dexter was 3, I was pregnant with Saeed, and I started having like anemia. I started having a lot of stuff going on with my body, needing vitamins. So the doctor told me to stop breastfeeding, and I had already went through this with him when he was about 2. And it was because you know, coming from like a very like Latina background and stuff, mainly my mom would always be like, no, why? No, she was very like against breastfeeding that old. And she said that I was a lazy mom because I just wanted to breastfeed. And other people too were just like, oh my god, you still breastfeed? Like I couldn't even last like a week or like a month or stuff like that. So I rarely had any people around me that would breastfeed. So that kind of shows you, you know, like it kind of makes you feel like lonely sometimes, because you can't really express your emotions and have people understand you. Even if they're moms, like it's just a different bond and different situation when you're just like breastfeeding. So when I started taking him off, I keep going off topic. But yeah, so going back to when I first did it, I actually heard this from like a tia, and she was like, oh, put chile, like tapatio on your nipples. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why the fuck would I want to spice out my kid like that? Like, I get spiced out. I'm a weak ass, you know, person when it comes to chile. And so I was like, why would I do that? And one night I was like just really frustrated, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just do it because he's big. And like, I started accepting like all those bad comments that I had gotten. So I started putting I put chile on my nipples, and obviously he got like super spiced out. Like he was just crying, and I was just like, oh my god, like what did I do? Like that's fucked up. Why the fuck would I do that? So I got like a wipey, and at the time he knew that like a wipey would clean up a mess or something. So I assumed that's like what he would figure out. So I got the wipey and I started cleaning his mouth out, like, and I was showing him like how supposedly I was taking out the chile, and he calmed down like super fast. So I felt bad, so I went back to breastfeeding him. And then a lot of people would come up to him too and be like, no, like no mas titi, or like no more boob and stuff like that. Like the only person that was just kind of like supporting me was their dad. And it wasn't much like a support, like, oh yeah, keep doing it and stuff like that. He was just like, okay, if you think it's time to like wean him off, then do it, and if not, then I don't mind you still like breastfeeding and stuff. So he never made me feel like I should have stopped or stuff like that. So yeah, that didn't work out. And then I did do the like just rocking them, like I was just really avoiding the nipple, and my boobs got so big and hard. And I knew, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be painful. Just like kind of like when you start and stuff. So I started like dumping out the milk when I would shower. I would take hot showers because I helped the flow, and I would just like with my hands. I watched a video on how to like take out the milk with just your hands, so that's what I was trying. But it was also like not a good idea because there's like a certain way you're supposed to do it. So I kind of I got scared, so I was just like, nah, what if I'm doing it wrong? I'm just gonna stop. So I ended up like giving him the boob so I can feel relief, like, you know. And then it worked. My boobs went like back to normal and stuff. And then I just kind of felt like, oh my god, like it's never gonna work out. Like my answer for like weaning off and everything was like it was gonna happen when me and him were ready, and when he just decides to say no, you know. But like that didn't seem to be happening because at times it started becoming like his pacifier in a way. He was just like on my breast for like comfort. So then that's how I started the process. So I started just giving it to him because he still napped. So I gave it to him during nap time and then bedtime. So if I knew throughout the day he was just wanting my boob just for comfort, then I would tell him like no. I tried giving him milk, but sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. So that happened. So now he got used to the schedule. Like, oh, okay, like when I go to sleep, I'm gonna get BB, and that was it. So for a while, I kept that schedule going, and then I started. What was I started? So oh yeah, so then I started taking it away from nap time and just giving like milk. And then I would rock him or play him lullabies because that lullaby would go on forever, but that would help him too. So I would rock him, give him milk, and then put it on the lullaby, and he would stay. So then it became that routine. Like I was only giving it to him in the nighttime for him to go to sleep. So he started getting very like aware of things. So when he would get hurt or like a scratch or something, I would put a bandage on, and he knew that because it was painful, I was gonna give him bandage. So then so with that idea, I talked to the birth consultant at the WIC, and she was telling me how she put bandages on her nipples, and she kept telling her baby that her nipples hurt, or like that she had a boo-boo and she had a bandage on it. So yeah, so I was like, what? Like that's funny, you know. So I went to the store, I bought bandages, and I put them on my nipples. But at this point, he already knew like the concept of like a bandage, you know. He wasn't that little anymore, which is why this advice won't like help a lot of people, maybe like the older kids. But yeah, so I put bandages on my nipples, and then I would pretend to cry, and that supposedly I hurt my nipples, and he would feel bad. He would be like, oh, like he would like try sucking it, and then just kind of like went like no. And I had read that a replacement of like kids that are trying to stop breastfeeding is just to cuddle with them, like to replace that feeling, like that comfort feeling. Like, so it would just be me and him cuddling, and I would just like, you know, touch his hair, massage his foot, and I would just comfort him. And I'll put the lullaby too, because that one was like what worked the best. So I started doing that, and it was pretty hard. Like the first week was pretty hard because he would want to take out the bandage eventually, but I would be the one like supposed to be in pain, you know, and he would just look at me like, oh my god, mom, like, are you really hurt? And it was so uncomfortable for me too because I was pregnant, so I was trying to comfort him, and I was pregnant, and it was a lot. It was a lot to take, but yeah, that's what worked. Slowly enough, I was just like, I would just comb his hair back and forth with my fingers. I would just play him a lullaby, and he would go to sleep. And it was like a very, very weird feeling. You kind of stay in shock, like, whoa, like, am I not doing this anymore? Like, what do I do now? I don't know, it's just a weird feeling to describe, kind of like empty, but like you're supposed to be happy because now you have all this time to like dedicate to yourself, that, you know, that extra time, like, that you're free, like, compared to like when you're, you know, bottle feeding a baby. It's not really taking much from you, you know, like, it's just a lot of emotion, but like, I was happy because I knew Saeed, you know, he was boiling in my tummy, and I knew I was gonna get better results from my like health and stuff, so I was happy about that. But yeah, I just like, it happened so fast, and by the time I realized, I was like, oh my god, like, this happened. So yeah, that's kind of my story with how I stopped breastfeeding, and now I'm breastfeeding my almost 2-year-old, and it's a very, very different experience because Saeed doesn't really use it for comfort unless he gets like hurt really bad and stuff like that. But besides that, he's really like good, and it's not as stressing, and it's not as overwhelming how it was with Dexter. And I kind of feel like I'm a pro, you know, and I do get a lot of people, like a lot of friends on my social media that hit me up like, oh, you know, like, I want to breastfeed, but then like they get discouraged a lot, and I'm just like, what the fuck, like, that was me too, you know, but I get it, like, and I always tell them, like, just do it, like, don't give up. And most of them keep going for the most part, but then like I'll see like, oh, they didn't make it that far, and it kind of makes me feel like disappointed, but like I shouldn't feel like disappointed because, you know, everyone's different, like everybody's gonna go through a different process with breastfeeding. But that's Saeed for you, and I'm out.